This is Intimacy at the Next Level, session number 5. I'm just asking God before I go into this next session for Him to purify my heart and purify my soul. And I pray that everything I say is to your edification. This book is not for gossip reasons. If you're listening to my book because you want to get information or you want to have more information and gossip, this channel is not for you, because this channel is for people who want to be real. And I want to be honest. I want to keep everything transparent with you. I want to share my heart. I want to be Althea. And I'm asking you if you can allow me to be Althea. My heart is, I never want to hurt people. I never want to hurt any of God's creation. You are beautiful. You are valuable to Him. And your soul is priceless. I know how important you are to God. So I don't want to do anything that will affect you in a negative way. But I know that being transparent and being real and being honest is the right way to go. And I'm going to tell you the truth. All my life, I always feel uncomfortable in the world because I feel like the world don't want truth. And I feel like that's why I've always been hated and judged and looked down on, because people don't want the truth. Whatever I represent is not comfortable to people, and I represent truth. Am I perfect? Far from it. Believe me, you will, just through listening to my book, you're going to see that Althea is far from perfect. But when God created me, and these are things He shared with me during, my years of walking with Him, He shared the heart He gave me. And He said, Althea, I gave you my heart. He said, you're like David. Your heart always wanted to please me. Even when you weren't saved, your heart didn't change, because I gave you that heart before you were born. When I created you, I gave you a heart of love. I gave you a heart, to do my will. And I want you to do my will. And I want to do God's will. But I don't want to offend anybody. I really don't. But I know that, this is earth, and people are broken. And sometimes I say things that hurt someone, but it's not my heart. It's never my heart to hurt you. I'm misunderstood, and people judge what I say and what I do, but my heart is always coming from a position of love. Even when I'm honest with you, there's times I will curse people out, not curse them out but like they'll frustrate my spirit, because my spirit likes truth. My spirit don't like confusion. My spirit don't like fakeness. My spirit don't like, the things that comes with flesh. Even those things that dwell in me, I didn't like. And that's why I my whole life I always wanted to be right. It was something in my heart that says to me, Althea, you have to be an example for others. It's always been in me. There was something in me that says, you have to be a better person. You have to be a good person. You have to, come to a level where of wholeness, a level of purification, because my glory is on you, and people are watching you, and they're paying attention to everything you say and everything you do. So you have to be right. I've always had that in my heart, and I always wanted the world to have that mindset also. I always wanted the world to want to be right, and I wanted people to see themselves. I wanted people to see that they're not perfect. I wanted people to see that they have issues. I wanted people to see that they're broken. But people it's like they control me sometimes, because they don't allow me to tell them the truth. They don't allow me to see what's really on my heart. And I've always felt like I was locked in a box my whole life. I always felt like I was locked in a box. It's called the world, and I had to conform to it, and I had to try and be what everyone wanted me to be. And that's something that God did for me when I got saved. He released me from that box. He released my soul from feeling that I had to be what everyone wanted me to be. And I'm a pleaser. So I want to make everyone happy. People don't know that about me. They don't know that I'm a pleaser. They don't know that I want to make them happy. They don't know They don't know that I want to say what they want me to say. I want to be what they want me to be. People don't know that, and that's something that I had to get delivered from also. So I'm going into my teenage years, and I just want you to allow me to be honest and to share with you, my memories. And our memories is what shapes us. Our memories is what make us who we are. Sometimes it's not even what's happening, it's what you remember from what happens. Because we go through a lot of things, but we don't remember a lot of things, so those things don't really change and affect us. But it's the things that stuck in our mind, in our hearts, that change us and help us to conform to whatever that experience was. And I realized that I let broken people change the way I saw myself. I was very insecure in my teenage years. I was mad. I was upset. I love my family, and I think God gave me a great family. I really think my sisters, my mom, and my brother, when I look at them, I see greatness. I think that God gave my mom 5 amazing children. I really do. And the truth of the whole matter is, and I really don't want you to be mad at me, and I have to say the truth because this is what God has called me to be. He let me go through 16 years of death and let me know the only reason you're alive out there is to do my will. And you have to take this world into a deeper, more intimate walk with me. And you have to show people what honesty is and what being transparent is. And you have to say what I want you to say. You have to speak the truth. And I don't want to offend my family. I don't want to offend my friends. I don't want to offend anyone. And it held me back from doing my book. My book is, I've written books over and over. I've written so many darn books and throw them away because I felt like my heart wasn't right and my spirit wasn't right and I didn't want to release anything. There's a play called I'm Gonna Do Your Will DVD on YouTube. So if you go to I'm Gonna Do Your Will DVD YouTube, you'll see the story of my life. But that story wasn't, there's a couple things that's not correct in it, but I also wasn't the writer in terms of I didn't have the full control of that play. And my sister-in-law, I wrote the story down and I gave it to her, but some couple things were changed. Most of it is accurate, but like the beginning of me not wanting to serve God, and some of it was true in terms of wanted to be wealthy and wanted to be famous. I did want to do that, but I'm just saying to you that my husband's character wasn't really correct in terms of how big he and successful he was in the church. He was that in that church, but he wasn't like that in the world. But I know God, took the play to where to the level of where it is, because at that time I was broken. So I really couldn't have controlled that play. I really couldn't have written that play and made it the way God wanted it to be. So he had to use someone else to facilitate the play. But I am going into my teenage years and I don't want to offend anyone, like I said before, and I want to keep it real. And this is not for gossip. This is to help. This is to help someone who's gone through those experiences. This is to help someone who, went through some of the things I went through, and for them to know that, they're not alone. And the Bible says, deep calleth unto deep. Let me tell you, when you're going through something traumatic in your life, when you can find someone else that went through it, or when you can find someone else that's, that has the understanding about what you're going through, it brings comfort to your soul. It does. I know that throughout my whole trial, one of the worst, because there's many horrible times, but one of the worst things for me was I couldn't find but maybe 1 or 2 people to help me, to walk with me through it. And the people that walk with me through it, they had to be totally surrendered to the voice of God, because if you weren't really connected to God, you would have missed what happened to Althea. And these people thought God wasn't with me, and they were rebuking me, and and God was like, I'm with you out there. He used to be right beside me. Through everything I was going through, he was right there. And they were saying God wasn't with me, and God was like, yes, I am, because he said he'll never leave us or forsake us, and no one can pluck us out of his hands. So the loneliness of my journey is what really is motivating me to do this book, because when we're really going through, we can't find anybody. And I want to be that somebody for you, or for someone that you know, that you can, send to my channel. And you know, I love you. I love people. A lot of things been said to me and spoken over me that make me think I'm not a good person, or that my desires are not good, or that I'm mean. But God tells me, He said, "You're not mean out there. You're honest, and the world don't like honesty. You keep it real, and you just, that's the way you are, and people are not comfortable with it." And I'm telling you right now that my teenage years, I struggled a lot with my identity. I struggled a lot with coming into the person that was I knew I was supposed to be. And I had also had my own agenda, because like I told you in prior sections, that I struggle with loneliness. I love my family and I love my brothers, and I I I felt like my brothers wasn't really there for me the way I wanted them to be there for me. There's times I was coming home from school, and if you walk on a certain block, there's always a group of guys on that block, and they used to tell jokes and laugh, and I used to be afraid to walk on that block, because they would mess with me, or they would run and touch your butt. I don't know if you guys remember this, but growing up, I was 15, 16. I was afraid to walk down the blocks where the guys were, because they'll touch your butt and run, or they want to talk to you, and I didn't like to be disrespected, and they'll have like no respect for me. And I know they liked me, but I never saw it like that. I never saw it like, oh, they like you. No, I saw it as, you're disrespectful, you're rude. So I would walk around the blocks. I would go out my way just to avoid them, to get to my house. And some of these guys knew my brothers, and they were my brother's friends. And I just felt like my brothers, I guess they were growing up and they were younger than me. So they were doing their thing. They don't know my heart. They don't know what was in my head. They don't know my expectations. And I had expectations, and they didn't meet it, but they were also teenagers. So that's not their job. Their job was not to be Althea's God. Even though I wasn't saved, I know that God was working all of it together, to for me to become who I am today. So I don't curse those experiences, and I don't judge my brothers, for not having my back, for letting their friends come down in the room so they could see me. And I hated it. I felt naked and vulnerable. I wanted my brothers to say, "Leave my sister alone. No, you can't talk to her. Leave her alone." But they weren't like that. My brothers, they would just laugh. They thought it was funny, And but they don't know me, so they're not God, But my teenage years was filled with guys. I was always looking for my husband. I've always felt in my heart that that my husband was going to be my best friend, and he's going to understand me, and he's going to be in tune with me, and he's going to be my Jesus, I guess. He was going to be my God, because my expectations and my vision of who my husband was supposed to be was really what God is for us. Someone to understand the depth of our soul. So in my teenage years, I was on this journey to find myself. I remember that even my body, I always want to be like a white girl. I always want to be like having no butt, no. I had thick legs, and I had a big butt and tiny waist and stuff, and I wanted to have the other shape where you have a big breast and you had no butt and no, your skinny legs, because that was the image that was projected in the media. I wanted to look like a white person, so I wasn't happy with my body. But when all the guys start liking me and they liked my body, I started to like, oh, okay. So I started to wear shorts that showed my legs and showed my butt, because the guys respond to it. And somehow us as women, I mean, especially growing up as a teenager, we care what guys thought. We let them shape our thinking, unless, I know I had some friends. I remember my friends in my high school. There's some of my friends that, one of my girlfriends, I love her so much, and she's always been a little bit more advanced, and her mom died, when she was around that age where we was going to high school. But my friend always had a different kind of thinking, and she was just always a confident girl. And I think that the death of her mom is what made her so strong. And she was very pretty. She was dark skinned, and I know she's going to listen to this book, but she's a beautiful girl, and she was always very smart. And she was always very confident. She didn't have to do what Althea did. She didn't go from boyfriend to boyfriend. She had like one boyfriend in high school when I had like 10. Because I was looking for perfection, because I was looking for something outside of myself. I was looking for something that I didn't have. And I didn't have that self assurance. I always look at my girlfriend, and she was dark skinned, but she was so pretty. And I was like, I'm not pretty like her, And I just wanted to be, this beautiful young girl, but I was struggling with my own mind and my own thoughts and my own desires and my own dream. And we struggle with so much as young people that it's, like our parents, they're not there either. And they're going through their own transition, and they're going through their own journey. And a lot of times they miss us. A lot of times they miss being that person for us, because they're also going through their walk, their life journey. And we all have a long list of what we wish they could do and what we wish that they did. But we can't judge them, because you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And our parents gave us what they know, and they didn't give us what they didn't know. So I don't judge anybody. I really don't. um, my older sister, I really listened to her a lot growing up as a teenager. And I love my sister very much. And like I said, this book is not to for gossip or to look down on anybody. She was also going through her transition, but I always listened to my sister, and I felt, this is my experience. She might not remember, but I can't be accountable for her. I have to be accountable to my own memory. But I felt like she didn't think I was a good person, and I felt like she was always, just judging me. You know what I'm saying? She didn't think I was a good person, and I guess I wasn't close to her. But I wasn't close to her because I just never felt connected to her, and the things I needed and the things I desired, she was just never like that. I'm talking about internally. My family is good when it comes to money, and they're good when it comes to, giving. But when it comes to the internal need, I didn't feel, connected to my family. I felt like they didn't understand me, and I felt like I was always being judged by them, and I would feel like I was always being blown off. I used to cry to my mom and tell her that I'm hurt when I break up with a guy. My mom used to like blow me off. Oh, Hopi, please. That's the way my family always talk. Oh, Hopi, please, whatever. You're exaggerating. I mean, that's not how you feel. I mean, you just, you're too extra. That's disrespecting my feelings. That's disrespecting what I'm saying to you. If I'm telling you that I'm hurting, don't evaluate and tell me what I should be feeling or blow me off. And that's where my family fell short. They fell short in my internal needs. That's where my family fell short. And I don't judge them, because they can only be themselves, and these weren't their issues, so they didn't understand that I felt pain intensively. I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel and pick up on everything. And when I broke up, when someone hurt me, I learned about myself that I feel pain like 10 times worse than someone else. Both of us can, like, say me and another girl go through experience, and I will be traumatized and she'll be like whatever. But not everything traumatized me. There's certain things that didn't affect me that affect everybody else. But it's the area of your weakness that you're most affected. And my weakness was being accepted and desired to be loved. And my weakness was loneliness and not being understood. And that's something I struggle with my whole life, just being misunderstood. And people understanding my soul and be able to really listen to me and hear what I'm saying and respect what I'm saying. But some of the memories I had as a teenager, I remember when I was dating this guy, and he had jerry curls, but he was very cute, and he used to like do the jerry curls. He was like a model. I don't think he was a big model, but I was young, so whatever modeling he did, I thought he was like a movie star. And he was in college, and he would come home, and when he came home from college, I was his girlfriend, and when he went back to college, somebody else was his girlfriend. And that was also traumatic for me when I found that out, that he was just my boyfriend when he's home. And I was growing up in my teenage years. My mom was very busy. She used to travel a lot. She used to, go to go to Jamaica a lot to visit her parents, and she was also working and going to school and trying to take care of 5 kids. My mother's not Jesus, so she's not going to be able to be there intrinsically for all her kids, while trying to be who she is and accomplish what she's able to accomplish and deal with even with her own self. But for me, as a teenager, I was dating this guy, and I love this guy. I love this guy, and it's he was using me. He was the first guy I had sex with. He was the first guy that exposed me to like a real relationship, but it really wasn't real. But he was 21 and I was 16. And I remember in that time of my life when I was, seeking for attention and seeking for someone to love me and be there for me, because my two brothers, they were very close. And then my two sisters, I felt like they were close. And I felt like I was in the middle and I didn't have anyone for me. And then I was going through a lot in my home with my mother's husband. My mother got married to this man, and that I knew from Jamaica. And I'm be honest to you, I hated that man from the day I met him. I met that man when I was in Jamaica, and he used to beat his kids. This is my experience. I'm not knocking him. I'm just telling you my experience, if you can allow me. And we used to go visit him in Jamaica when we were young. And this man, he was married and he had kids, and he used to beat his kids. I thought he was so mean. He was always beating his kids, and his older son ran away because he beat him up so much that his older son wanted nothing to do with him. And I remember as a little girl, with my mom and my brothers and sisters, and whatever they were doing, we were just at that man's house, and you were hearing stories about how much he beat his kids. And I remember even saying in my mind, I hope this man will never be my father. I thank God this man is not my father. I used to say it. Every time my mom used to visit him and she took us with her, I used to look at this man. I used to say, I hope this man will never be my father. I used to always say that. I just never liked him. I just thought he was so mean. But my mom loved him. But I just didn't understand why. Because I was like, he's so mean. He's so mean. And I never liked this man. And lo and behold, when I'm 15, he came to America. My mom married him, and he was now our stepfather. So I mean, me and this man fought all the time, and I'm not trying to put him down, but he did try to molest me. He did. I'm not gonna lie. And my mom, when I told her, she didn't believe me. Like, he tried to come on to me, and my mom used to travel, and I don't know where my brothers and my sisters were, but I just remember me being in the house with him all the time, and he would put me on punishment so I don't leave the house. And I just wanted a boyfriend so I can be out the house like my sisters. I just wanted a life so I can be out the house. But somehow I was in the house with this man. And I remember one day my mom was away, and I was in my room, and we live in a basement, and it was big. It was a long basement. My room was all the way in the back. My room was across from my brother's. So I had to walk through my brother's room to get to my room. Because, I mean, literally, my hallway was my brother's room. And I remember I was in my room, and, he called me up to his room, to my mom's room. My mom's room was on the opposite side of the house, all the way at the end. So my room we was at extreme ends. The kids were in the back, and my mom was in the front with the living room and the kitchen. So he called me for something. I never wanted to be that house with that man. I never wanted to be there with him. But I really didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't really have a life. So I remember that time I was home. And when he called me up, he's like, oh, I mean, he was just trying to sweet talk me. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I thought he was ugly. I just didn't like this man. I'm sorry, mommy, but I'm sorry, mommy. I'm not trying to disrespect you, but I'm just being honest. And, he's like, they're trying to hug me and put his tongue in my mouth, and we start fighting on the bed. And I mean, I got like a rod from on the right hand side. And I tell him, I say, you touch me, I'm gonna kill you. Leave me alone. I don't want you. And it's like me and him like fought, like we was wrestling. Like, he was trying to push his tongue in my mouth and try to lay on me. And I mean, I was mad. I was really upset. I felt trapped. I felt like I'm in this house. I don't have nowhere to go. I used to fight with my mom. I remember one day I fought with my mom, and she's like, I told her I'm going to call the cops. And she's like, when you call the cops, you leave with the cops. So pack your luggage. So if you call them, just walk out with them. Because I was really going through a lot, and I hated this man so much because he messed with my environment. You know what I'm saying? He took the innocence of my environment. My mom was a good mother, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't think she always made good decisions when it comes to, you know, him. I just like, I always say, what is she thinking to be in love with this man? I never understood it because my mom was a really nice lady, you know. So I was just like, what? I used to look at him and I thought he was so ugly, and I was like, what did she see? But she was so in love with this man from she was a kid. She used to tell us she loved him before our father. She loved him from she was a child. So whatever they had that was connected, I have to respect it. But I just couldn't figure it out because I was like, this man is horrible. But my teenage years, he messed it up because he was just that pressure in the midst of me dealing with me and dealing with my differences and you know what I'm saying, like, trying to get along with your sisters. Me and my sisters, we fought all the time because we were so different. My mom has 5 kids, and I'm telling you, I've never met a group of kids that's brothers and sisters that's so different. We're all strong, we're all like leaders, but we're all so different. And so it's like my mother hated that we didn't get along. It bothered her so much. She's just like, my kids, we fought all the way through our teenage years. I mean, especially like me and my sister. We didn't get along. We just couldn't agree. But, I can tell you that, when I got pregnant, my sister was the one that paid for my abortion. My sister was the one that helped me. She'll give me money or whatever. My sister's good with those things. She's not good with the personal things, like the things I'm going through internally. But if I need her for anything, I can go to her and she'll give it to me. My sister's very good like that. But I guess she wasn't what I wanted as a sister. You understand? I wanted her to sit me down and talk with me. I remember when I was trying to tell my mom that her husband, tried to molest me, and I have my memory. My mom, sometimes she don't remember. That's fine. I respect her, but I remember, and I wouldn't lie on my mom. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna lie. And I took her into the bathroom, and I told her, and my mom really didn't believe me. That traumatized me. That brought separation between me and my mom. That was the day I was just like, she is no longer my angel. She was no longer my angel that came from God. Because my mom, to me, I always saw her as like an angel. But as I got into my teenage years, when she didn't believe me that day, it separated us. And she probably doesn't know that, but I'm telling you, to me, she chose him over me because she believed him. And because I'm a hyper child and I'm very eccentric and I'm emotional, and I was more emotional because of the pressure of that man in that home. It's like it made my teenage years worse. It just, everything I was going through with my hormones and my identity and trying to, find out who I am and trying to be everything that my soul told me to be and try to, overcome my sister's voice of telling me that I wasn't nice and I wasn't a good person and I picked, you know what I'm saying? It's like with all these things I was going through, my mom husband just was like, he just add to everything. He just made my experience 10 times worse. And when my mom didn't believe me that day, because I've always sought for that. I've always sought for someone to believe me and to respect what I'm saying and to know that I'm not lying and to listen to me and to be compassionate to me. And that's what I wanted from her, and I didn't get that. My mom was providing, and she's a good mom, and she did good things for us. My mom took care of us. I respect her. I mean, she did the best she could, and that's a strong lady, and she was able to accomplish a lot with 5 kids and being single. But in that incident, it separated me and her. And I remember wanted to, that's why I got a boyfriend. That's the moment when I really had to get a boyfriend because now I'm like exceptionally lonely. Because the one person that I felt like really was supposed to be there for me just told me that she doesn't believe me. So I no longer look to my mom as that person because she didn't believe me. And that was all I wanted. I just wanted her to believe me. And she didn't. And I remember desiring even 10 times more for someone to believe in me. So that started my whole boyfriend thing. And that's how I got with that guy before that I was telling you about. He was 21, he was cute, he paid me attention, and he did things with me sexually that I didn't, I mean, I'm not. He just literally he opened that box to that whole. He wasn't the first one because I was molested in Jamaica. People don't know that, but I was molested in Jamaica, and that person did oral sex on me, but I didn't know what oral sex was. But they were doing it on me, and I was probably like maybe 7 or 8, and I couldn't really tell nobody. But yet I didn't hate this guy. I didn't hate this person. And that's something me and my sister didn't agree on either, because when I told her that I was molested by this person, she just didn't understand why I didn't hate that person. She was like, you must have liked it, because how can you not hate him? I just didn't. I knew what he did was bad by molesting me, that by doing oral sex on me. I learned that when I got older that it was oral sex, but when I was that age, I didn't know what the heck he was doing. All I know it was I was feeling this thing, on my parts, and it was someone that I knew, and he was probably 16 and I was probably 8, so he was young himself. And when I was just like a little girl, so I had the juice on my body like a little girl. There was juice all over my legs when he was done doing what he wanted to do. I just lie there for another 3 or 4 hours, and when I woke up in the morning, there was like dry juice all over my legs, and I just went to the shower and I just bathed, and I was sad. This happened when I was in Jamaica. That was the first time I experienced, like a man, but he didn't have sex with me. He just did oral sex, but I didn't know it was oral sex. And, but I think it opened that door to that whole world. So when I got with this older guy who was 21, he was pretty much unlocking all those things. And, it unlocked the whole desire for pleasure. And pleasure made me feel good. Pleasure took my pain away. Pleasure took all the things that I didn't like, and it took my attention away from everything that wasn't right. And that's why I like the guys now, because I like the pleasure that they brought, because it took me away from my pain. So when I was with this guy, I remember my mom being away again, and I was in my room, and my husband, now he hates me because I rejected him. He hates me now because I told my mom he was trying to molest me. So now he's like, this man, if he liked me, that like turned to hatred. He now hated me. He was out to get me. That man hated me. He became my worst enemy 10 times more after I told my mom that he was trying to molest me, after I rejected him. He was really upset with me. So I remember I was home by myself in my room, and now I have a boyfriend, so I have a boyfriend now, and I told my boyfriend to come over because I never want to be in the house with this man. So I was like, come over because I don't want to be alone with him. And we're in the back door to our house, so we used to sneak out the back door, but I couldn't really sneak because I had to come to my brother's room to get to my room. And of course, my brothers, they're businessmen, so they used to charge me for going out late at nights, or if I want to bring a guy in, they used to be like, pay up. My little brother was a businessman. He was, my little brother, money for everything. He wanted me to pay him for everything. Everything was money. If I'm going to the store for him, I have to pay him. If I ask him to go to the store, I have to pay him. If I ask him to allow me to bring somebody in the house to the back door, I have to pay him. If I get in trouble at school and I got a pink slip and I wanted him to not let my mom get the letter, I had to pay him. My little brother was a business person, and he put a cost on everything. He put a cost on everything. And I remember that night, my brothers wasn't home, my sisters wasn't home, it was me, and my mom was away, and my mother's husband was in the front, and I asked this guy to come and see me and come through the back door. So I let him in the back door, and I'm telling you, this was the first time I had sex. I was like 16, almost going on 17. And I remember just wanting to be in that room with him, and I was rebellious. I was already pissed off because I already told my mom this man's trying to molest me. She didn't believe me, so I'm in another place now because I'm just like, I didn't care. I didn't care. Once my mom didn't believe me, it was over. I didn't care no more. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I can't make nobody happy. Nobody believes in me, so whatever. So this guy came down, and we was in the room, and we was having sex. I'm not gonna lie. It was my first time. I'm not proud of it. I'm just telling you where I was mentally. Don't think I'm being confident and prideful. I'm just telling you where I was mentally. I'm taking you back into my memory. And that time I didn't care. And we were having sex. It took him a little while because he's been trying to have sex with me for a little while, and somehow he couldn't get in. But eventually, we was able to do it. And I remember being on top of him. I remember that I hear my door, like somebody's trying to get into my room. I was like, oh, it's my mother's husband. He started banging on the door. Hopi, open this door. I know you don't have a guy in the house. I know you don't have a guy in the house. He had a knife. I don't think he was being a parent. I think he was being a jealous man. He wasn't my lover, but he was being a jealous. He was being like a regular man. He was jealous that I was with somebody else. And I mean, he took a knife, like a bread knife, and he opened my door and stood there. Can you believe that? He knew I was having sex. Why would you want to open the door and see that? Why would you want to? He opened my door with the knife, pluck it out, the lock, pluck it out on the side, and stood there, and I just kept on having sex. Mark was like turned red. He was just, sorry, I said his name. I hate saying people. I didn't want to say anyone's name in this book, but he was just so nervous, and my mother husband got really mad. He was like, get out of the house. I just kept on doing it. I was like, what? I just kept on doing it. He was like, whatever. I just kept on doing it. I didn't care. I had my back turned to him. I didn't care. I was like, whatever. So he eventually closed the door back. He opened the door. He was like, get out the house, get out. So he eventually closed the door back because, you see, I wasn't affected by him. I was just like, whatever. I was in this whatever phase in my mind. I didn't care anymore about nothing. And, we were having sex, and when the sex was over, he went back through the door, he went back upstairs, and he was waiting for me. I said, wait for me outside. And we had a hallway. So I said, wait for me in the hallway. And, my mom, husband went upstairs and fought him. They fought. And he told the guy that he couldn't come back to the house no more. And that guy never came back to the house. He didn't even want to be with me no more. And any other guy that liked me, he would tell them, stay away because of my mother's husband. And I think that was all that jealousy, control type thing happening. I was so mad. I remember him trying to break up with me. I remember he was just scared of my mother's husband. And I just remember. And I remember one time I was in the house, and my mother's husband, he would hit my brother. He would conk them. I don't even know what conk is. Conk is like he took his fingers and would hit my brothers in their head. And I wanted to kill this man. I took a knife out, and I was like, you touch my brothers again, I'm going to kill you. But it said my brothers don't even remember how I used to protect them. I used to protect my brothers. When that man would talk to my brothers a certain way or beat them, I would be so mad at him because I just love my brothers so much. My brothers couldn't do no wrong, even though they did a lot of wrong to me, They never had my back, really, but I just love them. I just always wanted to protect them. But this man was causing so much problems in my life. And that guy didn't want to be with me. And I remember a month later, I was going to school in Manhattan, fashion school, and I saw, like, a month and a half later, I saw all this liquid on my shirt, and I'm like, why is my breast leaking, And I took a pregnancy test, and I found out that I was pregnant, and that was my first time having sex. It really was, and I got pregnant, and for like 2 months, I've never seen so much milk coming out of someone's breast. I was in school, and I had to put tissue in my bra. I had to put tissue in my shirt, and I was so scared. I didn't want my mom to find out. I didn't want nobody to find out that I was pregnant. And this guy now, he was like, he goes and come. He was trying to break up with me. Things was just never the same after he had a fight with my mother's husband. So whatever we had was he just scared, and I remember telling him, and he's like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to come back, and we're going to meet, 2 Saturdays from now, and I'm going to bring you the money, and I'm going to get it from my dad, and I'm going to take you to the hospital, and we're going to have abortion. I wasn't saved then, so I really didn't have the conviction of abortion, that abortion was wrong. I really didn't have the conviction that I was killing a soul. I didn't have the conviction that I had a life in me, and this life is a gift from God, regardless of the situation of how it came. Life is a gift from God, and I really didn't value that. I didn't value, I know God worked it all together for good, but I learned up to maybe 3 weeks ago was when I first got conviction that what I did then as a teenager by having an abortion was wrong. I thought about myself over that child that was in my belly. I thought about my life and that wouldn't fit into my life, and I didn't have no money, and I was still a teenager, and I made a decision for that, to eliminate that child from my womb, thinking about my own self. And whenever we do that, and whenever we have abortion, it's about us. That's selfishness. We're not thinking about that human being that God has given to us as a gift. Humans are a gift. That now, I mean, I spent all these years wish I had a baby. And I said, God, I can't believe that, I didn't value that life. It took me, I mean, this was 3 weeks ago, was when I finally came into that place of conviction that having abortion was wrong, because it was selfish and it was murder, and it was thinking about myself instead of thinking about the life. I am not God. I cannot take a life. I don't have control over a life. You see my point? And I took control. I became God for that child. I did. And that boyfriend, he was supposed to meet me that Saturday, and that guy didn't show up. He didn't show up. I cried for days. I couldn't tell my mom, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I told some of my friends at school, but I didn't know what I was going to do. This guy disappeared. I couldn't find him anywhere. I heard that he was with some other girl, and he stood me up. He stood me up. I mean, this hurt me intensively. I mean, it was so painful that, I mean, I used to go through so much internal pain from these guys and the things they would do. I was overwhelmed, and I remember that I had to go to my big sister. I had to go to my sister. Now, I mean, my sister didn't always get along, but I knew I had nobody else to go to. And I told my sister what happened. And do you know my sister? She always had a job. My sister was always working. And my sister gave me $300, and I was so grateful. I was so grateful because back then I didn't, having a child wasn't, I didn't know what to do with it, and I remember going to the clinic, and I took my girlfriend along with me, and I told her the story. My girlfriend, she went to elementary school with me, she went to junior high school with me, and now we're in high school together. And I said, I told her to come to me to the abortion clinic. And I remember just feeling so alone. I remember I always seem confident, but internally I feel differently from how I look. People always think I'm strong, but internally I'm not strong. I'm very soft. And when I went to that place, I don't know, it was so, I remember going, like sitting down, waiting in the room. I remember the doctor pulled me in the room. I remember lying on the table. I remember him telling me to relax. I remember him putting that thing over my face. And it was like I was slowly dying. That's what it felt like. Because you remember, I'm a kid. I don't know what this is. This is all new for me. It's like I was slowly dying. And it's like I just fell asleep. But the worst experience was when I woke up. When I woke up, everything in me just wanted to go back to sleep. I was in pain. I felt like it was just, I mean, it was just a weird, strange, I felt like I was dying. When I wake up, I just wanted to go back to sleep, and the doctor said, you can't. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. If you go back to sleep, you're going to die. If you go back to sleep, you're going to die. That's what I remember them saying. And I remember how painful it was to keep my eyes open from going back to sleep. And that was the most, for me back then, excruciating experience in terms of trying to keep my eyes open because it was just so hard. And I had to sit in a room. They gave me orange juice, and there was all these other teenagers around me, and I was lonely. It was horrible. I was hurt that my boyfriend wasn't with me, and then my girlfriend's like, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah." But then she was already frustrated because she had to sit and wait hours for me. And I remember just walking to the bus stop, and my friend, she just didn't have no patience. She's like, hurry up, just let's go, because we were taking a long time. We'd spent almost like half a day at the clinic. So she was just like, and we were young, we was like 16. So she was just like, let's go. And I was mad at her. I was like, this girl is like so insensitive. I'm like, I just came from having, my inside ripped out of me. I just killed my baby, and this is so traumatic for me. And she just had no compassion. So, but she's my very good friend, and she's still my friend to today, and she's a beautiful girl, and I love her. But back then, that moment wasn't a good moment. And I just thank God for my sister, and I thank God that she was there for me. But I do regret having an abortion. I do. I didn't for years even thought about it, but I've wanted to have a baby all these years, and now I'm like 40, and I don't have a child, and it's like God showed it to me that I gave you a gift of life, and you didn't appreciate it. And I know God is not punishing me, But he used that situation to kind of convict me, to let me know that was a gift, that was a life. And I didn't have that cognizant, I wasn't cognizant of what I was doing. I really wasn't. But God, not because I didn't know about it, that means he's not going to hold me accountable. He held me accountable. 3 weeks ago, he's like, you murdered that baby. He did. He was like, you killed that child. And not because he didn't know better. You know what I'm saying? It's just he held me accountable. And I felt conviction, and I had to repent. I had to ask God to forgive me. I said, God, forgive me for what I did. So I'm going to end this session. It's kind of long, and I'm not going to drag on as much. I'm just going to go, through the next session, okay? But I just thank you for listening, and just, I just hope I'm helping somebody, all right? God bless you, and I'll see you on session 6. You have a great day.